There is much more to faith than church buildings, orders of worship, prayers, songs, or even listening to sermons. My name is David Woodall with the Emsdale Pastoral Charge in the United Church of Canada. Sometimes Christianity has a feel of only ritual, and you wonder if you're missing something, particularly in this day and age when there's this plethora of religions out there that we can choose from. We even wonder, why would my faith be right and yours be wrong, or why would we both have different faiths? Recognizing the grass is greener on the other side of the fence syndrome, we sometimes wonder if perhaps some other approach to faith might be better and greater than mine. Paul arrived in Athens at the early part of the Christian century. The fine art of sharing the message of Christ, of sharing the reality of spirituality, is to find those words or those experiences which others can understand and which have meaning to us. Paul looked around this city of philosophy, a cosmopolitan place which was a melting pot of religions, and amongst all the statues was one installed to an unknown God. That's interesting. Amidst the plethora of religious understandings, there is an acknowledgement then, and perhaps even today, that there is this unknown spirituality at work in this world, this unknown God, if that is even the name that we can give it. There is this sense there is something more. Our spirits are teased by it, but we can't quite grasp it. We catch glimpses of this something more. Now, going back to the adventures of Moses, at this point in time, he's led his people out of Egypt, and then he's disappeared up a mountain. And the people are left on their own for days, weeks. They're teased by spirituality. They have this sense there's something more out there, and they're trying to grasp this something more. So they create a golden calf. I know, it's shocking. Imagine having that much gold to make a calf out of. But Moses seemed to have disappeared up the mountain. They had waited and waited and waited, and it seemed like Moses was never returning, and they had needed somehow to grasp onto this spirituality that they could only catch glimpses of. The people became restless. It had this empty feel for them. They looked for something to fill that void, and they settled on a calf made from gold. The Bible tells us that Moses came down from the mountain and destroyed the calf. But I wonder if the calf didn't really fill a void. After all the experiences of religion, even this powerful movement from the land of Egypt, there still seemed to be something more that the people, the early Israelites who traveled with Moses, something more they were looking for. And we catch glimpses of it. Our spirits are teased by it, but we can't quite grasp it. I've been around faith for a long time now. I've seen and heard lots of things. I've helped lots of people in their living of their spiritual lives. There's a lot more I wish I could have done. What I have discovered is that the depth of spirituality is truly remarkable. I have discovered that people who nurture their spirits are whole and healthy people. I've discovered that when we let our spiritual life be sidetracked by selfishness or pride or some lack of self-esteem, that we are shortchanging ourselves. The Bible tells the story of a man who went on a long journey and entrusted to his servants portions of his wealth. After a time, he returned. The first two servants returned to him his wealth and more. They had used that wealth to bear fruit. They had accomplished the owner's purposes. The third servant simply returned the portion given to him. You see, he'd gone out in the backyard and buried it in the ground. I wonder sometimes if we do that with our lives. I know some people do it with their entire life. Others from time to time look at themselves and discover that for a period they have been living more like dead people buried in the backyard than people who are truly alive. And I think it's important for us to make the most of our lives. I also think that it's important for us to be self-aware And if we have made mistakes or we find ourselves going the wrong way in life, to turn around, to not be content with saying, there's nothing we can do. Let's know what life is really all about. Don't dress up for football when it's actually a basketball game you're going to. Or perhaps you've had the nightmare of going someplace and being completely and inappropriately dressed. You secretly dream about it, and you wake up realizing it was just a dream, but you thought it actually happened. When I was young, it had something to do with arriving at school only to find I was still wearing my pajamas, or I'd forgotten to put my clothes on at all. The dreams are bad, but sometimes real life experiences are even more embarrassing. It was my very first basketball game. I was in grade 9. I was tall and gangly, a little uncoordinated, thin. Those were the good old days. I came off the bench. I was in the open and they passed the ball to me. Now that is a frightening experience in itself. See, when I played baseball, they always played me in the outfield, and I could remember my fear that the batter might actually hit the ball and then feel my heart sink as it came towards me. Mostly the weight of my heavy heart stopped me from catching the ball. So you can imagine my fear standing on that basketball court holding the ball. High school is a good chance to start again. I made the basketball team. First game, and now I have the ball. The basketball court, if you're not familiar with it, is quite complicated the first few times you're on it. You must remember what color your uniform is, so that you know who is on your team. You must remember what basket you're shooting at for obvious reasons. You have to remember, and the coach drills it into your head time and time again, you get the ball, you drive to the basket. Now it's very helpful to remember all of these things at the same time. On that day, I only remembered one of them. The basket was wide open. Everyone was at the other end of the court, so I drove on the basket. In the air, as I was completing my layup, it occurred to me that what I thought were the shouts of joy from my teammates had a somewhat different tone than you would normally expect. Fortunately, my coordination was such that I couldn't be in the air and put the basketball through the net at the same time. Let's know what life is really all about. Sometimes real life experiences are somewhat embarrassing. Some people live their lives in the same way that I played basketball that day. And wouldn't it be a shame if our spirits could be rich and full and we never took the chance? We never took the step to nurture the spirits within us. If we always let our lives be about getting ahead or having someone recognize how important I am or trying to be as popular as we can be with others, the ball of life is passed your way. Which basket are you planning to drive on? If there is one invitation from God that I hope we hold on to, it is that we are invited to go deeper in life. Those things we catch glimpses of that tease our spirits really are there, and you can touch them. Going deeper is love of yourself. Going deeper is love of God. Going deeper is love of others. Going deeper is to find Jesus. Going deeper is not survival. Going deeper is not just getting ahead. Going deeper is not a well-paying job. Going deeper is not found on the surface of life. You cannot do anything finer than to help others grow their lives, growing deeper in rich and loving ways. You cannot do anything finer than to help even just one person become their best true selves. On that day, Paul took his stand in the open space at the Areopagus and laid it out for the people of Athens. He said, "It's plain to see that you Athenians take your religion seriously. When I arrived here the other day, I was fascinated with all the shrines I came across, and then I found one inscribed to the unknown God. I'm here to introduce you to this God so you can worship intelligently. Know who you're dealing with. If there's one invitation from God I hope we all hold on to, it is that we're invited to go deeper in life. Those things we catch glimpses of, that tease our spirits, really are there, and we can touch them. Paul carries on, the God who made the world and everything in it, this master of sky and land, doesn't live in custom-made shrines or need the human race to run errands for him as if he couldn't take care of himself. God is not remote. He's near. We live and move in him. The unknown God. It's time to get to know this unknown God. Good hunting. The ball of life is in your hands. You get to choose which way you're going. I know you'll choose right. God bless you now and always. Amen.